Hamas, to their credit, and I don't want to give them any credit that they don't deserve, but in this case, they've controlled the message machine pretty well. So they'll put out a news release, they'll issue numbers and stories. The NGOs will pick it up, give it to the UN. The UN then publishes it without verifying any of it. They'll say this is the latest news. So you have a combination of recklessly irresponsible media, adding to an anti-Semitic fever that is going on across the world, and far leftist lunatics out parading in the streets of the United States and across the world saying from the river to the sea, making ridiculous claims both about Israel committing genocide, which is absurd, and people believe it because they don't know any better. I tell people all the time, come to Israel, see things for yourself.
Yet, as we speak, the Israel lobby is, I wouldn't say deteriorating, but losing members.
And politics tend to look at a poll, and if the poll shows a trend going somewhere, rather than leading, they tend to be followers. And that's a real problem in politics globally. And I hate to say this about our American political system, but we have a lot of people that will govern by polling.
But we're even talking Jewish members here.
Yeah, and that's really troubling. You see people like Chuck Schumer, who is more afraid of his own shadow, and AOC, which is a shadow I wouldn't want to have, than he is his own convictions. You know, Chuck Schumer is saying things that are 180 degrees from what he said in his entire career. Jerry Nadler, who's Jewish, just announced he's not running again. Probably a good idea. But it's hard to understand why so many people who have been strong supporters of the U.S.-Israel relationship now are afraid of really some of the crazy people out screaming in the streets, and they're just folding like a cheap tent in a thunderstorm.
Those prayer warriors out there, what word do you have of encouragement for them to stay the course? And, you know, how could they go deeper in their prayer time to really see change here?
You know, the scripture tells us to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. And I would say that there's a reason that that's in the scripture, because we should pray for the peace of Jerusalem. If there's peace in Jerusalem, there'll be peace around the world. And people should not quit praying, and they should not think that it is in vain, because it never is. Hamas has no future in Gaza. They're going to have to leave. They can disarm, they can go into exile. And Israel has offered them an opportunity to go into exile. But what they can't do is stay in Gaza and have anything to do with the future of Gaza. To let them stay there would be as ridiculous as someone thinking that the Nazis could stay and have a role in governing Germany after World War II.
Let's talk about what's going on here when it specifically to the West Bank. So you met with the Israeli finance minister, and you have concerns about that. Explain that, and what did you say to him?
There's a stalemate that exists between the Palestinian Authority and the government of Israel on some financial issues, one of which is the remittance of tax money that Israel is holding. It is supposed to go back to the Palestinian Authority, but the Palestinian Authority was also supposed to comply with certain guidelines. For example, to stop payments to terrorists. They've been doing it forever, and they pay terrorists large sums of money for killing Jews. They've claimed that they're stopping that, but they haven't. They just route it through a welfare system, and it's still going on. That's a huge problem. So Israel has said, you're not doing what you promised you would do starting in 2017, so if you're not going to keep your end of the bargain, then we're going to hold the money. I'd like to see that relaxed, not because I want to see the Palestinian Authority rewarded. I'd like for them to do what they claim that they're going to do, and that's stop those payments to the terrorists. Stop the curriculum in the schools that teach kids as young as 6 and 7 years old that it's a wonderful thing to grow up and to kill Jewish people. You know, teaching anti-Semitism as a curriculum in the classroom, that's a very, very dangerous thing to put into a culture. But that's been going on for years. Those are things that are supposed to stop, but they haven't. If they would, I think Israel would relax some of the financial constraints. The concern that I have in what's been reported has been that, look, I think that there's a lot of horrible things that can happen if the PA completely collapses. It's not that I'm trying to be a champion for them, but if they financially collapse, people can't get paid. There's no economic activity. And by the way, already there's 35% unemployment. It's a terrible economy. If that all goes even further sideways, then you're at a place where desperate people do desperate things. What we don't want to see is a violent uprising within the PA where people are just angry because they can't feed their families. The fact is the PA could probably take immediate steps to bring some resolution. Instead, they've taken the opposite approach. They've continued what's called pay for slay. They've continued the curriculum. And now they're pushing for unilateral recognition of a Palestinian state. That further froze any of the negotiations that I was involved in, shuttling back and forth between Ramallah and Jerusalem, trying to get some resolution just to bring a level of economic activity, not to help the PA government, but to help the merchants, help the workers. It's not their fault that their government is doing some of these things, but it would be to everyone's disadvantage if everything falls apart.